Hello again and welcome to another episode of Shed Talk, my weekly magazine video series looking at the keeping, breeding and showing of cage birds, with a particular focus as usual on the exhibition style budgerigar, and indeed in this episode that will be the main focus because, as promised in the previous episode, we are going to get the babies out of the nappy flight, so the young birds that are currently in the nursery flight behind me. We're going to get the eldest of those out, so and we will first of all we'll take a look at them in the show cage. What I will try and do is group them in families if I can. I'm hoping I'll be able to go back through my records, work out which are related, so you will see them in groups of family groups, or nest box groups should we say. So we'll have some idea of which pair may have produced the better chicks, which is always a good thing, isn't it? So we have an understanding of what we might want to pair up again next year, and which of those have produced the lesser chicks, and ones that we might want to try with a different partner next year. So once we've done that, we'll move those into the bottom of the two cages, and so then I've got, as I said in the last episode, I'm then comparing apples with apples rather than apples and pears in terms of age groups. Once we've done that, we will have a quick look at the two final breeding cages with the budgies, so the youngsters in cage number 1 and the youngsters in cage number 2. So so from that you'll probably gather that we have had at least one other chick hatch in that nest box. So we'll have a look at those. If we get a chance at the end, what we will do is nip out and have a quick look at the young fives just to see how they are getting on as well. Right, well, before I do anything else, what I have got to do is make sure set up the cage below, because at the moment it's all stripped down. Right, I shall get on with that, and then I'll be back, meet you back here, and we'll have a look at the first of those young birds. Well, I have managed to get the bottom cage reassembled. A little bit awkward because the cages are hand built. You have to make sure that the various bits you're putting back in go in the right place, otherwise they don't quite fit, and I managed to do that in the end. So that's all finished. Time to get the birds out and have a look at them. And so this is the first one we're going to look at, and it's the oldest of the birds. So it is a hen, as you can probably see. I'll try and get him to stand up, or her to stand up just a wee bit. This bird is off of a cinnamon sky blue and a normal green, and is herself a light green cinnamon, hen, good shoulder width. I'll try and get her to swap perches. Maybe she'll stand a bit better if I get her to swap. There we go. Maybe not. So she, like I say, she has reasonable width across the shoulder and a very nice deep mask. Quite a biggish bird as well. Not the greatest of style, as we can see. She is not really standing up off the perch very much. I don't know if you've got a glimpse of the fact that she's wearing a 2024 ring, so she was rung before we got the new rings at the beginning of December. Not the biggest of spots on her. And when she does stand a bit taller, she looks like she's got the hinge tail problem. So this would, if I'm going to keep this bird, I think what I will need to do is to see how she sits when she's more relaxed in the cage. And if she doesn't show that bad hinge tail fault, then she probably will go in to next year's breeding team. If she does, then I will need to seriously think about whether I'm going to keep this bird, or whether I will get rid of her. So this is the first bird we're going to look at. Oh, sorry, I'm not sure if I said. So this is off of our pair number 2. The next bird we're going to look at is also from the same nest as this one. But a hen. It's always good to start with a few hens, isn't it? So we've got a young hen here, or a youngish hen. As per usual, let me know your thoughts. She's starting to relax a little bit now, so I'll give it a couple more seconds, perhaps another 30 seconds, just to leave her to settle. I'll stop talking, we could just have a look at her and enjoy what she looks like, or not. So it definitely leans across the perch, doesn't stand up enough for me. So again, remember I was saying about my birds lacking that bit of style, and this just demonstrates that, I think. Right, we'll pop her into the cage below now, and I will get you the next bird which is a sibling of this hen, and as I say, it's another hen. So, sister of the last bird we looked at, also off of the pair 2, which was the cinnamon sky and the normal green. It's a cinnamon, as you can tell, so it's a hen, and my guess is that it's a cinnamon cobalt. I'll just see if I can get her to swap sides again. There we go. She does stand a little bit better, a little bit taller than the last bird, but not as wide. You can probably see that, so she's not as wide on the shoulder. But like I say, does stand a little bit taller. Got that little bit of a hooked back, which shows a bit bad when you look at the tail as well. So it gives that horrible back line to the bird. Again, a fairly deep mask, and not the biggest of spots. I'll just let her sit with her tail down, see if we get her back. Again, she's got a 2024 ring on. You can probably spot that when she turns around or when she's flapping a little bit. I'll just give her a chance now to completely settle, so I'll stop talking and we can just again have a look at her. Of course, being a 2024 run bird, we're not going to show her in the young bird class. If we were going to show her, I'm not convinced she's a stylish enough bird to show. Like most hens, she's not showing that real width across the eyes. Well, certainly my hens don't show it. I have seen some pictures of some lovely hens showing that really wide brow, but my hens certainly don't show it as much as my cockbirds do anyway. So not as wide as her sibling, the cinnamon green that we looked at, but if anything a little bit taller and probably a little bit more stylish. We'll see when she relaxes a bit more, or if she relaxes a bit more in the show cage. And now I've got her out and she'll go into a different cage to all the other youngsters. We'll get a better idea of what she looks like when she is relaxed in that cage. Starting to relax a little bit now. You can see her panting a bit still. And she's still showing that hooked back. that you can see. You can see the line on the back. It's not the nicest of lines, is it? But we'll see. Being a hen, you know, we like to keep our hens nice and young, don't we? So, in fact, we like to keep most of our stocks nice and young. So, being a hen, it might just make the keeper's cage. Right, she can go in with her sibling into the newly set up cage, and we'll have a look at the next bird, which is going to be the first of the birds that will run in 2025. So this was the second round from pair number 6, and we have another hen. So interestingly enough, the first 4 birds that we've looked at, sorry, 5 birds that we've looked at have been hens. So again, so this is a cinnamon dark green. Again, has a bit better style, not quite perhaps as straight down the back as the cinnamon cobalt we looked at, but overall, not too bad. Again, the wing carriage is not great, a little bit like her sister. She has reasonable width through the shoulder, but I think you can probably see the way she is now, not necessarily the straight as back as her sister. Remember we said that other bird had a reasonable style, this one perhaps not quite so much. So I said reasonable width across the shoulder, nice depth of mask. I'll see if I can get her to move across. So a nice depth of mask, reasonable side spots for her age. So another reasonable hen. I'll try and get her tail so her tail's not sitting across the two perches. It always gives a false impression, I think, of the bird when it's doing that. When she, again, a bit like we've seen some of the others, when she is leaning over the perch, she doesn't quite show the poorness of the wing carriage or the tail. But again, quite a nice biggish bird. And another hen, of course. So we do have some choices for hens this year. So not a bad little bird. Lacks that bit between the eyes again, doesn't she? And not quite as much as the, well, she hasn't got quite the head, quite the top of the head that her sister has, but got a lovely width of mask and a nice depth of mask when she wants to show it to us. Again, I'll be quiet for a few seconds and just see if she'll settle. I'll move out the way so we can have a look at her. Well, once again, I'll pop this one back into the nursery flight. I'm just looking at her sister now, who actually is still in the show cage. I've just plonked her next to the cage they're going into. And she's showing really, really well now. I think that bird, just that cinnamon cobalt, is almost certainly a keeper. Right, let's pop this round and have a look at the final bird from this pair, which actually is another cockbird. Actually, is our first cockbird, I should have said. Right, let's have a look at him. So our first cockbird, and I think, hopefully, you can see what I mean by the difference between the cocks and the hens in terms of that over the face style. This cockbird has much more width between the eyes and much more blow across the top of it. Very, very much has that cock feel about it. And a bit like the sisters, showing a bit better style than some of the other birds we've looked at. Currently got a bit poor wing carriage, but nice width across the shoulders. Has a little bit of a hunchback about him. I don't know if you can see that, but overall reasonable style, and has a lovely, if you just were to take the face, has a lovely face on him. So quite a biggish bird. Just a shame he won't stand upright for me, but he has that hunch over the head. Can you see it there yet? Well, it's showing really badly there. So I'll just see if I can get him to swap perches, or at least see if I can get him to stand up a bit. No, it's going to probably show worse. I've upset him a little bit now, so I'll move out of the way and let him settle. But so a cinnamon grey green. And in my opinion, probably the best bird we've looked at overall. I do need to see how he stands when he's more relaxed, when he's out of the show cage, in terms of that overall style, or certainly after he's had a bit more show cage training. If he stands a bit better, if he stands a bit more like he's standing now, then my guess is I might show this bird. It is a young bird, can probably just make out the ring. So it is going to be a 2025 bred bird. So again, not happy in the show cage, is he? The worst of all of them, actually, that we've looked at so far. Probably the most stressed of all the birds. But does come back up onto the perch reasonably quickly. I suspect if he had been in the show cage for, most of the morning, he would be well settled. Being a bit of an acrobat as well. Right. So that is the last of the birds that we're going to look at. So we had a couple of birds there, one whole family that we've looked at, so 4 birds from the same family. Or was it 3 birds from the same family? Let me go back and check. Anyway, we'll get them all back into the nursery flight now. And we'll have a look at the babies in cage number 1 and cage number 6. And we have another hen. So this was off as my pair number 6. So the cockbird, or the father, was a cinnamon green, and the hen was an opaline cinnamon grey. Must mean Dad was split for blue. And indeed, this is off of my blue family, which is one of my better families, I suppose. And this hen is has a lot more style about her, doesn't she? Stands tall, straightish back, not too much round the middle, so she's not showing a big belly on her, not looking like a fife. She has reasonable depth of mask, little bit of width, and for a hen, if you look at the head, for a hen, she has a little bit of width between the eyes as well. I did just say my hens tend not to show that. The spots are reasonable size. My early thoughts on this young hen is that she will probably be a keeper. She's a little bit younger, as you can imagine, than the two birds we just looked at, and are already showing a bit more style, and definitely showing some length on her. So she's quite a biggish looking bird. So I'm going to just move away from the cage a little bit, because I think I'm stressing her slightly. What I'll do now is I'll stop talking so that she's less worried about hearing me, and we can just have a little look at her. Real unfortunate thing here is this was the only bird that we got off of this pair, so which is a shame. I'll have to have a look and see whether both the two parent birds actually survived. If they did, we'll have a look at what we will do with them again in terms of next year. I need to go back and check my records as to why I split this pair. I have a feeling the hen went off colour, but I'll need to go back and check. But yeah, I think I do quite like this hen. Definitely one of the best of the three, I think. But your thoughts, as always. Whether you, I mean, just in terms of the style on this bird, I like, and I did say that was one of the problems I've been having with the bird. It's got a straight back, no real indication of a major hinge in the tail. Wing carriage looks good. Like I say, it's carrying that extra bit of feather across the top of the head. Depth of mask, I never really have a major problem with depth of mask with my birds. So this bird will almost certainly be a keeper and will go into next year's breeding team. Right, let's have a look at another family then. Right, so this next bird then is off of our pair 7, which was an opaline cinnamon sky blue that we paired to a grey green, and as you can see, it's another hen. So the first 4 birds that we've looked at are all hens, which is nice, and it is a cinnamon grey green. Looking at the cheek patches, this bird is a bit smaller than the last couple of birds that we've looked at in terms of its overall size. So it's not the longest of birds. It stands quite upright, which is quite nice, but it does have a little bit of a hinged tail, as you can probably see. try and get her to look round at the camera if we can. You can see she has a reasonable depth of mask. She's got a nice bit of width between the eyes. And overall, you know, apart from the wing carriage and the hinged tail, and I'm not sure if it's the hinged tail that is emphasising the poor wing carriage. Try and get her to sit the other side. Overall, you know, not terrible. Seems like I've upset her a bit now. So overall, not terrible, but also not the greatest of birds, is she? So we'll have to wait and see how this bird develops. But another hen. So at least we've got some options for hens, young hens for next year. Right, I'll just let her settle. You can have a look at her. She's staring straight at the camera. The way she stood now, she's leaning over the perch, which eliminates the hinged tail, but not the full wing carriage. So I don't know. Starting to get a little bit restless. So I will probably pop her into the lower of the two nursery flights with the other two. Again, there was only one off this round for these pair. So so we'll now have a look at the next birds. Right, let's pop this one back. Well, that is all of the youngsters back in their various cages now. We've got the slightly older young birds in the lower of the two stock cages, nursery flights, and the younger ones in the top. We will have a look at the younger ones in perhaps a couple of episodes from now, so that we can begin to see what some of those look like. I hope you did enjoy the little look at the older youngsters. If you did, then don't forget to give the video a nice big thumbs up, and anything you saw in those young birds, don't forget you can always comment in the comment section of the YouTube channel. And if you're not yet a subscriber, of course, please do subscribe to the channel. On the subject of comments, there were a couple of comments that I just thought I'd mention, particularly one on the community section of the YouTube channel. If you want to go and have a look over on the community section, please do. It doesn't cost you anything. There is no cost to commenting on any of the videos, so go across and have a look at that. But there was a comment from David Thompson about the problem we were having in the cage behind me, and we'll talk a little bit about that cage in just a second, where one of the cockbird was harassing one of the youngsters out of the nest box. And he mentioned one of the options, of course, is if they are if they leave the nest box a bit too early, then what you could do is pop them into a bath like I use out with the canaries, one of those all wire baths. Pop him in there on the outside of the cage, but so that they can be fed through the wire. Hope that makes sense. So pop him pop the bird in there, hang it on the outside. They can be fed through the wire. It will just stop the bird from attacking him and causing it any major harm. Fortunately, the cockbird is now out of there. I'll talk about that in a second. So that is an option. Clearly there isn't a massive amount of room in there, so as they get older you would need to think about how else you could do it. And of course, if you had the type of cage that I've got outside with the fives, you could always put a wire divider through between them. Chick hides do help a little bit, but sometimes if you've got a really aggressive bird, I find that the chick hide, you know, keeps them out of the way for a bit. But if you've got one that is determined to attack a youngster, it is likely to happen irrespective. The other thing, over on the Shed Talk Facebook page, and again, if you're not a member of there, do pop over to that page. I think there's a link on the home page of the YouTube channel, so do nip across and have a look at that. On there, Phil Hill, again, is a regular commenter, person who comments regularly over on the community section of the YouTube channel. He posted, he was very fun. I'm really pleased that you enjoy the channel, Phil, by the way, because Phil is a judge across in New Zealand, and he posted some pictures of the national over in New Zealand that he was very fortunate enough to be able to judge. We will have a look at those pictures very, very shortly, so you can see some of the birds, the style of the birds over there in New Zealand. Some lovely birds there. And congratulations, Phil, on being asked to judge such a high level show. So well done, Phil, and I hope all those people who did show in New Zealand had a great time. Right, we'll have a quick look at those birds now. Once we've done that, I'll give you an update on the two final breeding cages. Well, I hope you did enjoy looking at those birds, and again, thanks again, Phil, for sharing those on the Facebook page, and I hope you didn't mind me repeating the pictures on this channel. Right, so breeding update for the Budgerigars, which is what we're going to finish on. So we'll start off with cage number 1. You can probably see, and I'll just step out the way for a second. So the nest box is now off of that cage, and I have actually taken the cockbird out of that cage. So hen will bring the final 4 up. So of those 4, there's only one that is still calling for food. So the oldest chick is feeding itself, which is the Lutino bird. The 2 middle chicks, which are the dark green, grey-green that you can see, which is the outcross bird, and it's actually turning out to, looks like it's going to turn out to be quite a reasonable looking bird. So it has a little bit about the face, so that sort of, how can I explain it? So in terms of the across the top of the brow, so between the eyes, it has that nice horseshoe shape around the nostrils to show that the feathers are likely to start coming down a little bit. I do hope they do, because it's a feature that I do enjoy. Right, so that's, yeah, so those 2 oldest chicks are also feeding themselves. The youngest, which is the opaline cinnamon grey, is still calling for food, so that's the only bird at the moment that is still not yet fully weaned, and obviously the hen will continue to feed him in there. He took a little while to come out of the nest box, so I was about to turf him out today if he wasn't out, because the hen was going back in there, and I had the impression that she was beginning to think about laying again. So I did want to get the nest box off and get the cockbird out. So fortunately, when I came in this morning, that bird was out of there. So all those look like they're, you know, developing really, really nicely. What about the final birds in cage number 4? Remember, we did have 1 hatch the last time, and I was waiting on a second. How do they get on? And the final birds we're going to look at today are the birds in cage number 6. So these had, the last time we looked at them, there was 1 chick that had hatched, and you know, you remember, thanks to all those who again commented and said they're glad I got something off this old cockbird. So yep, I'm glad as well, and I'm even more pleased to say that we've now got 2 chicks off of this old cockbird. The other eggs, I'm absolutely, well, 90% certain, 99%, that they're not going to hatch. So I've left them in the nest box just for now. I will be removing those probably in about 2 days, just once I've done the final check that they are not viable. But we've got 2 chicks there, ringing the first one. I hope you can see that in this clip. I don't think it was the best recording I've ever made on this channel, so I do apologise for that. But yeah, ringing that last, the first of those 2 chicks, which looks to me like it's going to be a cinnamon, probably an opaline cinnamon, I'm not sure, but definitely going to be a cinnamon, and just by the pink in the eyes. And the younger chick, still not really sure yet. The eyes look a little bit pinkish, but they're a little bit darker than the older bird, so it might still be a normal, but we'll need to double check that probably over the next couple of days. So I am very, very pleased that we got 2 more off of this relatively old cockbird. Took a little while. I think this was the 3rd round that we finally got him to 2 eggs. So yeah, very pleased with that, and pleased with the last few chicks here. You know, we got 4 in there, 3 and 2 in cage number 1, so 3 off that pair and 1 foster chick, and we've got 2 more in here, so that's 6 more chicks, touch wood, if they all get weaned fully, that we can put into the nappy flight. And I've got something again to play with in the next year to see, you know, which ones we're going to think about keeping, showing, breeding with. Do let me know your thoughts on the ones we looked at today. Right, that does just about bring us to the end of another episode. As I always say, you know, if you do enjoy it, then don't forget to hit the like button. But most importantly, until the next one, do stay safe, enjoy your birds.